All right. Hello again, adventurers, and welcome to another exciting daily vlog. This is daily vlog number 85. And today, I have just had a really bad day. Really bad depression and anxiety. I had therapy today. It was not a fun therapy session. And a lot of the time, so here's the thing about therapy. Because I had someone I follow on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. I had someone talking about the idea that therapy is not like a punch card where you go to 10 therapy sessions and then you get a free healing. It's not how therapy works. And interestingly enough, a lot of therapists, part of the training of being a therapist is intentionally not, quote unquote, trying to fix people. And what I mean by that is that the therapy only works if the person attending the therapy, not the therapist, but the person attending the therapy, wants to put in the work to get better. And it only works if they understand what's wrong. Like the therapist can understand absolutely everything about you. They can go, oh yeah, this is really like you are an absolute textbook case of this particular thing, and all you need to do is do this, and this, and then you're perfectly cured. It's not how therapy works. It doesn't matter how great your therapist is. If you don't understand what's wrong, you will never get better. And that's kind of the job of the therapist, is to basically help you to understand what's wrong and help you to take the steps that you need to take to get better. And so a lot of times when people talk about today was a rough therapy session, what they're actually referencing is the idea that they had a breakthrough or they had something that happened that they just started to understand what one of their big problems is. And a lot of times when that happens, it is incredibly intense, because sometimes the thing that's wrong is just kind of admitting that you were abused and kind of admitting things that you have been denying your entire life. And admitting that those things happen can be an extremely overwhelming experience, because you kind of have to relive them for a brief moment to admit that they really happened. It could be your breakthrough could be that you realize that you have been doing something wrong in your life. Perhaps you realize that you have been abusing other people. You have been abusing yourself. Things like that, and that is a really, really sobering, terrifying experience to go through when you realize that I have done these things to me and I am the problem that needs to get fixed. That would be a very rough therapy session. Mine was neither of those. I already know I've been abused. I've already admitted it. I've already, for the most part, kind of come to terms with the fact that nothing I do today is ever going to change the fact that when I was very young, someone did something horrible to me. And a bunch of other things that happened in my life. I have just kind of I am okay with the fact that that is a part of my history. I'm not okay that it happened, but all the regret and the remorse and the anger in the world is never going to change what already happened. And so there's no value in me clinging on to those emotions of pain and suffering and things like that. Or to go even further, the people that abused me are still alive. And so I could very much want to kind of hold on to those sort of feelings of vengeance and revenge and go, no, I want them to be punished for what they did to me. Because to my knowledge, no one that abused me has ever been punished for my personal abuse. The person that did the worst thing to me is, to my understanding, currently in jail. I haven't spoken to them in 30 plus years. To my understanding, they're still in jail, and they're in jail not because of what they did to me, but what they did to other children. We had no idea, or at least I had no idea, that anything happened until I was in my mid 20s. And I've never gone to the police or anything like that because they are already in jail. There's no reason. So, one of the things that can happen is you can kind of focus on, this idea that I deserve, I deserve payback. These people deserve to pay. And I don't believe that anymore. Any justice that they get is out of my hands unless they attempt to abuse me again, and then I will, of course, do my best to stop them and ensure that these new aspects of abuse are correctly punished. But the things that have happened in the past are things that have happened in the past. And I've given up my right to retribution, I guess you could say. It happened. I have to deal with it for the rest of my life. And whether or not they feel bad about it, or if they ever even admit that it happened, doesn't really matter anymore. So that was also not what happened to me today. What happened to me today that made my therapy so rough was I've mentioned before there's some stuff going on that I just don't feel comfortable talking about. Not because, it's bad for me, but most people really wouldn't care. It's just something I'm not ready to talk about. Has to do with my living conditions, and theoretically it should be resolved by Thursday. And by resolved, I don't mean like I'm getting kicked out of my house or anything. None of that is happening. It's just something that's messing up with my anxiety and bringing up some past abuse. Not abuse, really, just trauma. That had nothing to do with abuse. It was just traumatic experiences from my past. Because of that, today in my therapy session was me just kind of talking about the fact that I feel absolutely horrendous. I feel like I am drowning. Like every time my head breaks the surface, another massive wave comes and buries me under miles of water, it feels like. And I feel like I am losing myself. I feel like I'm losing all the things that make me me, because all I can focus on is getting through the next moment. I'm in an immense amount of pain constantly. My anxiety is through the roof. It really fucking sucks. And there's nothing anyone can do about it. Quite literally, nothing is going to change until Thursday. That's it. All I can do is try to make it until Thursday. And that's not a fun thing to talk about. That's not a fun thing to deal with. Because, again, a lot of people think therapy is like, you discover what's wrong with you and then you start fixing it. A lot of people don't realize sometimes therapy is just going, well, you're not dead. That's a positive. Yeah, but I would like to be dead. Well, maybe you shouldn't do that. Okay. And that's a successful session. And it really fucking sucks. I would love nothing more than to not live the life that I'm living right now. I would not wish this experience on the worst person in the world that you can think of. It is horrible. I have had experiences, and I can never remember if this was actually in a hearing or this was me just talking to somebody involved in the disability process or somebody I know, but I remember, I think it was, and again, my brain is so messed up that I sometimes will piece together memories from different places because I can't remember things. So I can't 100% tell you that this happened exactly this way. but I have a very vivid memory of describing the symptoms that I deal with on a daily basis. And I believe this was during my first try for disability, the one that got denied like 7 times. Um, One of those denials was based on a fabrication by the judge because the judge didn't like me. And part of that is my fault because I may have inadvertently insulted the judge, which if you're ever dealing with a judge, don't insult the judge. They will find against you just on principle. Especially when the deck is stacked massively against you already, don't insult your judges. I didn't intend to insult the judge, I just did it. I didn't realize what I was saying was insulting. Anyway, still doesn't excuse the fact that the judge lied, but so I remember talking about just all the horrible shit that I have to go through on a daily basis just to exist. And I remember, I can't tell you who it was, but I can remember the words. There's no way that's true. Or something akin to that. And I go, what do you mean? It's like, you wouldn't be alive. Basically, their justification for not believing me was if my life was as bad as they described, I would have, to use the fun term for YouTube, unalived myself. Which, again, I was hospitalized for that. Not for the attempt, for making plans. Let's put it that way. My therapist became very, very worried for me, strongly encouraged me to seek treatment. And by strongly encouraged, flat out said, well, you can agree to go to treatment voluntarily, or I can call the police and they can do a quick interview with you and then we can have you involuntarily committed. And that was where the doctor tried to kill me. I do not blame my therapist. My therapist was doing exactly what she was supposed to do. And it just so happens that in my particular situation, it was the wrong thing. But in literally any other situation, it would have been the right move. And to be perfectly honest, it might not have been the exact wrong move for me anyways. Because, again, I was in a very, very bad place. It just so happened that the particular psych ward that they put me in had a psychiatrist there that was a dipshit and unintentionally tried to kill me. Almost succeeded, too. If I had stayed there any longer, I probably would be in a much, much worse place than I am. So anyway, my life is not fun. And my therapist is wonderful and has helped me deal with a lot of different extremely negative situations. And 100% the reason that I am still here is because I have had a phenomenal therapist helping me for years. I've had a few of them, actually. I tend to burn out therapists because, eventually the therapist wants progress and you don't get like fixed, but things get better for you. And that doesn't happen for me. Things generally just tend to get worse for me because new symptoms will appear that medication can't treat. And there's only so far that, happy thoughts and mindfulness can go. So yeah, today's therapy was basically me venting about how horrible and disgusting I feel right now. And the fact that, well, it's going to get worse before it gets better. And there's nothing anyone can do about it. Except for me to do everything I can to soldier through. And this is not the first time I've had that conversation with a therapist. And it is a remarkably disheartening conversation to have. Because again, the reason a lot of therapists get into it, I'm not even going to say most because I'm not going to try and speak for an entire profession. But a lot of the therapists that I have talked to, whether in therapy or just because I've met a lot of different therapists and psychologists just from being very interested in psychology, and my mother has a master's degree in it. One of the big motivators for people to go into psychotherapy and talk therapy and things like that is the desire to help people. It's one of the big motivators for the medical field in general, is this desire to kind of help and fix people. And a lot of times good therapists get to see that happen with a lot of their patients. Again, the whole purpose of a therapist is not to fix you, it's to help you to understand what's wrong and give you the tools to fix yourself. They can't fix anybody. But they do get to watch people have breakthroughs and eventually start taking care of themselves in a healthy manner. And for a lot of people, therapy is not a permanent thing. You go to therapy, you deal with the things that you needed to deal with, and then you were given the tools that you need to kind of survive on your own. Like, that's how most therapy works. But every so often, you have to have conversations where it's just, there's nothing you can do. Your life is horrible right now, and nothing's going to change that in the short term. The things that are going wrong with you are not your fault, and they may be someone else's fault, they may not be, but you can't stop other people from doing things. And you can't change the world on a whim just to make your life a little bit nicer. Sometimes your life just sucks, and it's not your fault. And it's going to continue to suck or get significantly worse. And there's nothing you can do to stop it. And that is a big motivator when it comes to things like unaliving and stuff like that. And for anyone that's worried, I'm not in that boat right now. If I was, I probably wouldn't be having this conversation with you. I'd probably be having it with my therapist. I'm not in that boat right now, because I have been here so many times before, and it never gets any easier. You'd think it would. If you do the same thing over and over again, you would think that you would build up a resistance to it or just a familiarity with it, and it never happens. It's always horrible every single time. But theoretically, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. I've got 3 days left, because Monday is effectively over. Monday's over in what? 15 minutes as of me recording this. So it's just Tuesday, Wednesday, and then part of Thursday. I don't know. I can't remember what time. We have a professional coming over to fix the problem. I can't remember what time they're coming. So I basically have like 2.5, 3 days left. And yeah, really fucking sucks. And I hate it. I hate everything about it. It never gets any easier. It never gets any better. It's a brand new experience every single time. There's nothing anyone can do about it. So yeah, today's been rough. Hopefully tomorrow will be a bit better. We'll find out. Anyway, that's all for me today. I will see you guys tomorrow. All right? Bye-bye.